Eric Keller here with Enthusiast Auto Group. We are in EAG Super Secret Warehouse number 1, and we have several clients that have expressed interest in our Diamond Schwartz on Cardinal E30 M3 Repeat Visitor. And the main topic of discussion has been condition and what exactly is the condition at 113,000 miles, having gone through EAG's comprehensive rejuvenation program now multiple times. We have completed our paint correction, and the car has been resting here amongst its peers and friends in the E30 space. Four sport evolutions to keep it company, and giving the car credit where credit is due for this mileage. The condition is, I think, in this case, self-explanatory. For the mileage, it is considerably better than what it should be, and the receipts and time and effort and energy certainly would validate that in the trips through the workshop. There's one very small scratch here on the front fender that we have touched up, and I'll get real close. And that is as good as we can hide that scratch and keeping the panel original and not having to repaint. The car has had some paint work. We painted the hood a number of years ago. We've painted the passenger quarter panel as well. The rear spoiler, of course, has been done, as have the rocker panels, front bumper at one point as well. But overall, this thing is extremely nice. There's one very small scuff on the rocker panel right there. And you now have seen the worst marks on the entire car. Outside of that, we're going to have a little bit of scuffing on the edge of this door, I believe. Yep, right there. We are installing a new we'll call that a B pillar there to replace that little dent that happens on these. Pretty easy to change. Inside, it really shines. These are the original to the car door panels. All of the heat stitched, what we call pleats, are in really good shape. No cuts or any door imperfections from shutting the seatbelt in, which can happen quite often. The front seats have been reupholstered, and they've been done to a very high standard. It's very tight. The lines and the shapes and the contour, as well as the double row of stitching, all of that stuff is really, really on point. And you can tell that it's been done only because it looks so darn good for the age and mileage. It shouldn't look that good. The rear seats are original and still in really good shape. All the stitch lines are tight. They'll typically split there at the bottom as well as on the top right there, especially from sun exposure and heat when they shrink. The seat backs are quite nice. The seat function, how many of those, when you pull the lever, spring forward? I challenge other E30 owners to go to that test and do it to both seats, as we're about to do. The dash is free of any cracks. There is a grab handle imperfection, a depression there in that center map pocket, which has been there since the day we bought the car. It's in all of the photos, and I can tell you that it's well earned. It is from sitting in the passenger seat there and holding on to the dash, as well as the snap handle there on the top headliner during driving schools. The car's not been raced. It has been tracked as a instructor's level car and doing some driver education events with the PCA club, as the first owners were PCA members, 3 guys that interviewed Evan and I back in 2005 to qualify us to buy the car from them. Obviously we passed, and they weren't joking around is they were very proud of this car and keeping it in really great shape. Never went off track and was never driven in anger. Rather, they had race cars and some 911s that were going to be a bit more exciting to drive, I suppose, at least to them, than this. This is going to be a bit more predictable and well, very visceral, as many E30 M3 guys can appreciate. So not a lot of other things to point out as negatives. The car's a little dusty. I suppose here in the spoiler there's a couple little paint swirls and cracks, as happens with this very functional rear wing and the amount of downforce that it exerts. You can see them here in the reflections. Very minuscule though. It's important to always wipe the water out of that when it does get wet, and of course, keep it out of the rain. This car's not been rained on in a very, very long time. A couple little small spots on the top of the trunk lid. This is an original paint trunk. And remember, this is Diamond Schwartz. This is a very fragile color code that, back in the day when these were just used cars and parked in the driveway, for conversation's sake, not that this one was. I mean, that would happen with, any type of fallout or bird droppings. But the shine and the finish on the car is exceptionally nice again for the age. This is an original roof. You can see some small little speculars there in the reflections, but yeah, it's honest. And these lighting conditions are very harsh, and that's why we're doing this in this building. Just so happens that's where the car's been residing here for the last couple of weeks. This is probably one of the, well, it definitely is one of the nicest cars, E30 M3s, for the mileage that we've ever seen. And that's why we feel so strongly about the car and why we keep buying the car back. We always price it a little bit more aggressively to kind of compensate for the number of owners it's had, but number of owners and quality of owners, that's a conversation to be had. And the quality of owners, especially, every single person that we've sold this car to, they've been vetted by us to make sure that they're going to take great care of the car and add a good chapter to the car's life, because we knew, historically speaking, there's a pretty good chance this car was coming back to us. So, it's never sat around all that long in inventory, and every person that's ever seen the car in person that was qualified and was interested in buying an E30 M3, every single time a person has seen this car, they've bought it. 3 years ago, the last time that we brought it to market, he actually, I don't even think he saw it, and he was even local, 45 minutes to an hour away, and bought the car based on the conversation, the photos, and of course the reputation. And 3 years is not a super long time, but also it is rather a long time in this car's history. We have sold it quite a few times at 6 months here and 2 years there. So, thanks for tuning in. If you are interested in owning an E30 M3 at this quality level, here it is. I'm going to pop the hood here. I forgot that, and I'll do the trunk here as well briefly. We are sitting at 113,415 on the mileage. Original pedal covers. These are things that we look at too. Look at that real close. Yeah, they're worn, but they're not overly worn. Funny story there on the Cosmoline. Had a guy come and swipe his finger right there, and back in the day in Madisonville, that was 2006, I think, and we politely asked him to leave because that was just a bad exchange. He didn't appreciate or understand what that was, and we kind of explained it. He still didn't think that was very important or relevant, and we just determined it wasn't going to be a great fit. Original VIN tag there. It's been washed and wiped down so many times the paint of the black has come off there, but you can still see the number, of course. And that happens, especially when the cars are as loved and as polished as many times as this car has been. VIN tag there by the washer nozzle supply line. We've got the other VIN tag up here on the front. All the original stickers are where they're supposed to be. The car has been converted to 134 AC. We bought the car there with the hella horns on it, and they sound very period correct. Actually, it's the same kind of note that you'll hear in our M1 there. The mods on the car are very period correct as well. The suspension, shocks, springs, sway bars give the car a very, very planted feel and high confidence level. The car really handles well. We've got a new set of mats. We've got the history binder with all of the service and history from our care over the years. We've hardwired the car for a battery tender. I think that's one of the more recent additions. All the carpets are in great shape, original to the car. Toolkit is original to the car and not rusty because the seals in the trunk have never failed. That's a complete toolkit for E30 M3s. There's a little white plastic tool that was not delivered in these cars new. At least all of the delivery mileage cars we've had, including the Sport Evo with 74 miles on it, it did not have that either. So it's a common conversation question we've received. This is a black carpet car too. That's important to note. All of the parcel shelf and all of the carpet inside is black. The other option would be the Cardinal, which becomes very, very red. And this black carpet, I think, is certainly more desirable. And those are the original floor mats to the car. Find another set of those. That's why we've got the new style European. Those are BMW floor mats in the trunk, and those are going to go with the car too. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more. And this car is available to you now. See ya.